There's a moment when the noise fades, and what's left is shame. Not because you did something wrong, but because you did nothing at all. Stay with me, because by the end of this, you'll understand why Carl Jung believed your undisciplined self isn't lazy. It's exiled, and it's begging to come home. We don't talk enough about what it does to a person to break the same promise every single day. To whisper tomorrow, knowing full well tomorrow never comes. To walk past the mirror and feel resentment, not because you hate yourself, but because you don't believe yourself anymore. You say you'll change, you believe it, and then the morning comes. The vow is gone. The cycle begins again. Jung once said, "People will do anything, no matter how absurd, to avoid facing their own soul." Avoiding discipline is exactly that. Not procrastination, a spiritual rejection of your future self. Because discipline isn't effort, it's identity. And you'll never become disciplined until you stop seeing yourself as someone who needs to become it. Most people never become who they are, not because they don't try, but because they remain strangers to their own potential. They chase change outside of themselves. New job, new system, new motivation video. But you don't need more. You need less. Less escape, less noise, less hiding from the one thing you've always feared. Responsibility, not to others, to yourself, to who you were meant to be. That's where discipline lives. Think back. When were you most alive? Not in pleasure, not in comfort, but in alignment. When you kept your word. When you did what you thought you couldn't. That feeling wasn't pride. It was integrity. And here's the truth. Lack of discipline isn't the disease. It's the symptom of a split soul. One half makes promises. The other breaks them. One side wants to build. The other wants to disappear. Jung warned, what you resist persists. The disciplined, ambitious, ruthless part of you isn't gone. It's shadowed. And what you're really afraid of isn't failure. It's your own strength. Because once you commit, you lose your excuses. No more hiding behind potential. You'll have to become proof. And that's terrifying. But the greater terror is knowing you're already dying. Not from work, but from guilt. From betraying yourself, day after day. Discipline is not something you add. It's the soul's immune system. It protects you from spiritual decay, from regret, from becoming a man who has everything, except himself. Listen, you weren't born lazy. You were trained to mistrust your own power. Somewhere along the way, discipline was punished, mocked, dismissed. So you hid it. That's where the fracture began. But the shadow is not your enemy. The lazy version of you isn't trying to ruin your life. He's protecting you from rejection, from pain, from the sting of not being enough. And when you realize this, discipline stops being a war. It becomes a return to the throne you abandoned, to the archetype Jung spoke of, the king. That's what discipline truly is. Not checklists, not alarms, but psychological architecture, the external reflection of internal order. Every time you delay, you're not just losing time, you're building regret. Every someday is a brick in the architecture of your own erosion. So remember this, discipline isn't loud. It doesn't scream. It doesn't need applause. It walks quietly, daily, like a man who has finally kept his word to himself. Not tomorrow, not next week, now. Because once you return, you'll never avoid discipline again.